Well, this is All Out Politics and time now for our debate. And today we're asking, is the whole process going to end up being a Brino Brexit in name only, or Beano, some people call it? Which do you prefer of those?
I think we should call it Brexit. Brexit means Brexit.
All right. Well, with me to discuss that are Rehman Chishti, Conservative MP, who supported leaving Chris Leslie MP, member of Open Britain and International Trade Committee, of course, former Chancellor for Labour, and a Remainer. Do you think we are heading to that sort of soft Brexit that people like you will be happy with?
Well, at the very least, we need something that is going to keep business going. If you have a sort of, coronary, effectively, for the British economy, with all sorts of obstacles for the lorries and trade going through Dover and the Channel Tunnel, that's basically where we're heading if we're out of the customs union, then that economic consequence won't hit MPs as much as it'll hit our constituents. Their jobs, their incomes, all of those things are going to become very much to the fore. Now, will that happen in March 2019? Depends on whether there is a transition, this notion of somehow keeping things going while Britain feverishly tries to negotiate a situation that's going to work. But that transition is far from a simple situation.
What do you think? I mean, there's sort of reality biting to the extent that it's not going to be the brave, glorious new dawn that Brexiteers hope to.
Well, I think there's some who've never really accepted the result, and there's some who, on the opposite benches, who have tried to frustrate the process. But the reality is the British public have voted for us to take a different direction in relation to where we're in at the moment with the European Union, and I think what we have to deliver on that, and there's certain key things in relation to that. Firstly, single market, we have to come out of the single market, we have to come out of the customs union, and therefore we have to have a situation where the British members of Parliament, elected by the British public, make laws affecting them, rather than having third parties which are unelected in Europe telling us what to do.
I mean, none of those were on the ballot paper, were they?
Well, I think if you're saying to me, Adam, Brexit meant many things to many people, the answer most certainly yes, but there was something which were very clear. If you're coming out of the European Union, then you have to come out of the single market and the customs union, and on that basis, for me, I think it's a situation where the British Parliament makes its own laws affecting our own country, which I think is a key fundamental part of it.
I mean, his position is pretty much Jeremy Corbyn's position, isn't it?
Well, look, I've got a job of work to persuade Labour's front bench that actually, if we're going to avoid a decade of austerity, going forward, then we have to keep some fundamental things going. I think participating in a customs union, participating in the single market are absolutely cornerstones to that. And I think you hit the nail on the head earlier. It wasn't on the ballot paper. Let's exit an internal market arrangement where services have the right to be traded. Let's make sure that we somehow, the ballot paper said we want obstacles in the way at the border and checks and all sorts of, rules of origin arrangements. None of that was on the ballot paper in the referendum. That's for MPs in Parliament to decide. That's what our constituents want us to do. And actually, I think it's now becoming clear the divide is the ideologues who want to sort of leap off the cliff. There are a lot of realists, though, in Parliament who are saying, hang on, let's think about jobs, the economy, the money that we need for the revenues to pay for NHS and all those other things. I'm certainly getting a lot of support amongst Labour Party members who are saying, absolutely, stay in the single market and the customs union.
Are you putting ideology before jobs?
Most certainly not. Look, Adam, most certainly not. I think the reality is there's some who would say with Brexit, you have to look at it through damage limitation control. And there's others who say this is a great opportunity for our great country to go out there, build those exciting new relationships, provide the opportunities, jobs and prosperity for our country. And this gives us a chance to do that by being sovereign and making those decisions which affect our citizens and not being told how to do it by other people. So what I would say on that, if you're saying there's many others out there who said before the Brexit vote, this is doom and gloom, but if you look at the economic forecast in relation to regards to Germany, in terms of foreign direct investment, there's more in this country than there is elsewhere.
We're holding our own, and some people are saying some areas we're doing worse. So it's not. We haven't seen the dividend yet, have we?
But Adam, look, I read your article over the weekend on the darkest hour, and I think when our backs are against the wall, do I think our great country, can make a great success of it with Brexit? The answer is most certainly yes.
So our backs are against the wall as a result of all this. What a ridiculous situation! You talk about. Let me just admit. You talk about these fantastic opportunities. I'd love to hear what exactly they are, because it seems to me what you're doing is you're saying, forget about the greatest partners that we've got, our nearest trading neighbours, the European community of 27 countries. And instead, let's chase after trading deals with New Zealand or South America or wherever it is. These are important, but they're second order compared to our European Union
90%
nearest
of
neighbours.
economic growth with next 10 to 15 years will be outside of the European Union. We want to be in a situation. We want to be in a situation that we can have a brilliant, excellent trading relationship with countries around the globe. I said as a government's trade envoy, and I was out in Pakistan. We're looking at a $2 billion deal in November. They're not scared by the prospects that you make. The reality is we have a great opportunity and we can make it a success.
Why do you make out as though it's one or the other? We should be able to have both. It is perfectly possible, as we have for the last 40 years within the European Union, to have those trade deals, as we have with Canada, potentially with other countries, Korea, Japan. Germany isn't sort of having to choose between whether to do deals with China or whether with Britain. It wants to do both. And what we're at risk of doing is literally cutting ourselves off or inhibiting our trade with those nearest neighbours. And that has big consequences for our tax receipts and for our public services.
No, look, what I would say, there's people like Chris who would never accept the result of the referendum. I think even Jeremy Corbyn made the point. He said if you're leaving the European Union, you have to come out of the single market and the customs union. That gives us an opportunity. That gives that, I think that it quite clearly shows the splits within the Labour Party.
But on the more fundamental thing of whether we're turning our back on what is still our biggest trading bloc in pursuit of notional things out there which may not be out there and which other countries in the European Union like France and Germany can go after as well.
But I think what we have to say is, looking at the future is 90% of economic growth around the world will be outside of that.
I understand that.
And I would say, this gives us an opportunity.
But is Germany turning its back on going after that growth?
But look, how Germany does what it wants to do is a matter for Germany, but for us, we have to look at the way, where we're at the moment, which is the British public decided they want a different kind of relationship.
But my question is, if you accept the argument about 90% of the economic growth and that being what we should go after, how does being out of the European Union help us pursue that?
Well, look, it gives us an opportunity to forge trading relationships in the way we think is good for our economy, but at the same time, we want to have a brilliant trading deal with our European partners, like the Prime Minister said in the Lancaster House speech.
But you're not answering the point you've got to answer is, what is this special advantage that Britain's going to get with either America or China or these others that we wouldn't have as part of a bigger group, an alliance of 500 million people with much greater leverage in getting the better deals that we want on trade elsewhere? I mean, we're at risk potentially after March 2019 of actually falling out of 40 big free trade agreements with the rest of the world. So far from advancing, we're at risk of actually losing all of those deals and scrabbling around to put them all together.
You got the last word.
Well, what I would say, some would say that, but what I would say is, we have an opportunity, rather than being tied in to how we do our trade with other parts of the world, that we can set those rules in line with our own economy and take those into consideration and diverge as much as we want from the rest of Europe.
Deregulate.
Make sure we get the best scenario possible with regards to regulation. Look, we still want to make sure that we get the best deal possible for our businesses and our economy, and that's why you saw the Secretary of State for Brexit and other leading ministers make that offer to business community out there to say
deregulation.
Not at all. That'd be a good deal for our businesses because that's what's important.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there. We will return to this one. Thank you very much indeed.